players do you fear from the Packers, and where do the Cowboys hold an advantage? Now, per Elias Sports Bureau, this game will be the first time in NFL history that the outright top 2 touchdown passing leaders face off in their team's playoff opener. So Jordan Love, second with 32 touchdown passes. Dak Prescott, 36 touchdown passes. First time ever the playoffs has opened up with the top 2 outright going against one another.
I can't believe in today's NFL that nobody threw for 40 touchdowns in a 17-game season. It's weird, these two numbers, because 32 just sounds like a nice year. It doesn't even sound like a top 5 touchdown passing year. Like, oh, that's a solid year.
Do you think it's because how many more quarterbacks will run as well? Because, like, Josh Allen has a ton of touchdowns.
It's 44.
Okay, and so how many of those are rushing touchdowns? Like 12?
Give me a moment.
Probably at least 13.
Yeah, give me just a moment.
So I think that's the deal, is a lot of them run.
29 passing touchdowns, so you do the math, Kevin.
How many did you say total?
44.
He has 15 rushing touchdowns.
It just doesn't seem like in today's NFL, averaging 2 touchdown passes a game would, I'm not saying be easy, but it also doesn't sound that difficult, that if you got 34 passing touchdowns, you're like, yeah, that's 2 a game.
No, I totally understand what you're saying. And then also, another bizarre note about this game, even though it's the 9th playoff meeting, first time they have ever met in the wild card round.
I know this is a question you're not going to have. What year did the wild card round start? Because obviously if you're Bart Starr and Don Meredith, and I'm going to assume Roger Staubach, there wasn't a wild card round, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. But wild card seems like something that happened in
1970 when they did the merger.
Okay, so Rogers, most of his career, if not all.
But it wasn't the same as, like, I mean, obviously it wasn't super wild card, but it wasn't even the wild card system a lot of us are probably used to. Just to show you how old this rivalry is, they've played in the NFC Championship once, the NFL Championship twice before they changed it, and then the divisional round 5 times.
Do you guys see Green Bay as more of a rival to Dallas, or do you see San Francisco? Not like who's the tougher team right now, but I see San Francisco as a bigger rival in my lifetime than Green Bay.
Yeah, it's San Francisco for me because they were the team that you had to get past more often than not, it felt like, to get to the Super Bowl.
Montana takes something away that you had.
Yeah.
Then
I don't
you
remember
took
that,
it.
but yeah.
Well, it was, we were little.
Yeah.
But that's the history of it. And then you're like, dang, these 49ers. And then you beat them in 92 and you feel like you take it back away from them. And Green Bay had Magic Man Mikowski out there farting around for a few years.
Do you think most of our audience then that's like maybe 25 to 30 maybe does view it as the Packers? Because
maybe so.
14,
of Aaron Rodgers.
16. Yeah, those were prime opportunities to be in the NFC Championship game, and spectacular plays or not plays were what decided both of those.
No, you might be right. And then now it's San Francisco has eliminated you the last 2 years.
Yep.
So I just, this is a big rivalry. I'm not trying to take anything away. I just feel like out of the, take Philadelphia, New York, and Washington out, I always felt like San Francisco was that team that I looked at more than Green Bay.
I have a question for y'all because you asked about the wild card round when it started. I was going through this rabbit hole the other day, like trying to figure out, when was the last time this team played, yada, yada, yada. Did you know they used to have a thing called the Playoff Bowl?
Yes. We talked about that a couple years ago, like the third place game, essentially.
What a world to live in, where you had, like, because the NCAA tournament had a consolation game.
Yes.
Until like the early 80s, they had a third place game. Like, why would anybody agree to play in that thing?
That is a great question.
I wonder were they making money off of it? Like that's definitely a factor in this.
Like in the 60s and 70s, though, the NFL wasn't making money, period.
The Cowboys
the way
were
they
in
are
the
now.
playoff bowl a lot.
They were just trying to get their product out there.
What was our record?
I'll have to go back and check on that.
Undefeated, Mike.
I don't believe that is factually accurate, but I'm not I'm not sure. So I can check.
Cowboys were 1-2 in the playoff bowl.
There you
the
go.
Lions were an undefeated 3-0.
Whoa!
Woo!
That's like with Night Train Lane or something like that.
Now,
rebuilding ever since.
The Lions were the best at winning the third place game.
That makes perfect sense.
So Detroit.
Yes.
That is so Detroit.
I'm going to go to cut number 5 here. If we're talking about what player you fear from the Packers, I do still think I'm going to go with this gentleman right here.
4-man rush. Love has Jones in stride. Aaron Jones racing to the end zone and he's in. Touchdown, Green Bay.
I know Green Bay hasn't exactly taken over the world running the ball, But then I look at all of Aaron Jones' matchups against the Cowboys, and it's true. Some of these are several years ago, but 19 for 125, 19 for 107, 24 for 138. He always runs for more than 100 yards against the Cowboys, and I think we all agree, not the stoutest run defense in the world. So I think Aaron Jones is the top of my list. He also has six touchdowns in that span. So 3 games against the Cowboys, 300-yard rushing games, and 6 touchdowns.
Wow, and he has the kind of speed to get outside that you do fear a little bit too. That was the feeling with James Cook, was that he could kind of do whatever he wanted, but a lot of these stuff did bounce outside eventually. So we
stopped all that.
And
right?
Nope, that was a tough day. But I heard Rob Demovsky.
Yes, Rob Demovsky. Mike, you're a big fan of his work.
8 a.m., man. If you listening to the fan at 8 a.m., that was a can't miss.
He said
it's not a she.
He said, not a she. I was listening. He said that Green Bay's game is not to try and pound it up the middle on you, but definitely to take Aaron Jones outside on the edges.
What a miss that is.
Yeah, so that's.
I'm surprised I had to click on this guy because I thought he was going to be really good. I thought A.J. Dillon was going to be better out of college. And
it's Corey's brother, right?
Yes. I think they're the same.
Is it really?
I have no idea.
One went to the University of. They went to schools really close to each other. One University of Washington, the other Boston College, right next to each other. So
Washington was DC, yeah.
But he's the bully back that they handed off to a few times. But I've kind of learned throughout the season, Broadus has kind of taught me that honestly, it's when teams run on the edge against the Cowboys that they really have the biggest issue. Up the middle, there can be an issue, but not as much as when you run the ball to the tackle. Tackles. Offensive tackles.
Yes, understood. So you're not afraid of him. Is there anybody else on the Packers that you are concerned about? Anybody can chime in.
Okay, you were pointing at him,
so I was
like,
okay,
I got you.
I just think you're going to win by 2 touchdowns. So it's tough.
Okay.
I would bet good money that the Cowboys win this by more than 7. The spread right now is 7. I think the Cowboys are going to win this by double digits.
Okay.
So I just think Jordan Love, I'm still not, I guess, a weird way to say this, trying to fall in love with him. It's like I watch him and I hear all the praise, but when I watch him, I'm still just not overwhelmed. And he's getting a lot of praise at the end of the year, and he should. Wasn't it 16 touchdowns and 2 interceptions?
I believe it's 18-1 in the last 8 games.
But it's just okay.
Well, that's not good for us.
Those are tons of great numbers, but when I've watched him, I just have it's kind of left me going, I want more. Not that he's bad, but I just think, isn't there more there? So
yeah, and I would also venture to say, like, I think most of his receivers being first rookies or second year guys. Right. Christian Watson been injured most of the season. Romeo Doubs has been injured a lot this season as well. He was
just in the hospital this past weekend.
Jaden Reed has made some runs here where he's been exceptional. I think Jaden Reed, has been a big time playmaker, and Dontavion Wicks has made some significant plays too. For what Jordan Love has done with not having the cast of characters along with him the entire ride, and maybe his best receiver sitting out with hamstring injuries all this season, I think that tells me how much I should fear Jordan Love. But the future of him is the real, like, that's the future of Jordan Love is what I'm concerned about the most. But I guess Jaden Reed, because he's one of those guys that kind of reminds me of the Cobb character, where he can do anything on the field. You can put him in the backfield and have him run out of the backfield as a receiver. You can put him pretty much anywhere as Jaden Reed, the receiver. So I think that dude right there is probably the one offensively that I fear the most.
Do you think Randall Cobb's family invented the Cobb salad?
I don't.
I can see why you irritate Sean.
Why is it called a Cobb salad?
Curb Your Enthusiasm says Bob Cobb at the Brown Derby in Hollywood invented it.
That's exactly what it says.
That's right. I told you.
Yeah, Bob Cobb at the Brown Derby restaurant in Hollywood, California, one day threw together a salad for lunch and shared it with his friends. Okay. Sid Groman at a Chinese restaurant.
Sid's a good guy, man.
Sid liked the salad so much, he named it the Cobb salad, and the Brown Derby put it on a menu as a standard.
Okay, I thought you were confirming
the year
that
was
Randall
1937.
Huh?
It was 1937.
Yes.
Do you think if Sid didn't like it, Bob Cobb would have called him a Sidiot?
Wow.
Look, man, you're going to fit in well with this show, Chop. Kevin, as much as he's doing that,
that's a
he's
joke you
loving
like,
it right
Kevin.
now.
That's
You
a
love
joke.
those jokes.
That's a Kevin joke.
That is clever. All right. Eric?
I also the other part of fear. I really liked the answer from Demovsky the other day, because you asked, Chop, I believe it was you that said Jair Alexander is, and you left it like blank.
I think it was Sean that said that. Yeah, Sean asked that one,
and he answered by saying all about Jair Alexander. Yeah. And so like you kind of think you should fear that dude, but maybe he's just himself.
Now, a couple of spots where I think the Cowboys have an advantage is, as much as we complain about this run defense, and I understand why, they are still middle of the pack for the season. Clearly, there's games like Buffalo where they feel like the worst in the league, but still middle of the pack. The Packers, on the flip side, 28th in run defense this year. So while there have been concerns about the Dallas Cowboys' ability to run block and Tony Pollard's effectiveness, Rico Dowdle's effectiveness at various times throughout the season, this Packers team is not good on run defense. So that might be an opportunity you have to take advantage of them. I realize the Cowboys would probably still prefer to pass, but a potential opportunity right there.
I will say I did look up, is Bob Cobb related to Randall Cobb? And I got back that no, that is not the case. But there is a man named Randall Tex Cobb who was an American actor back in the day, in the early times.
The more I look into the Packers, how are they in the playoffs?
Because the NFL was bad this year.
They won a certain amount of games that allowed
I know,
them.
But when you look at
This
their
is a down
stats,
year of NFL.
when you look at their roster, I'm just like, this just doesn't look like
Good coach. They have a good coach.
Yeah. I agree with you there. It's just, I just keep looking at it going, okay, Kevin, I'm sorry I don't have an answer. Let me look at their defense. And I'm like,
okay,
who the hell are these guys?
So to that point, do you think it will make you feel better about, like, we've talked about the haves and the have-nots in the NFC most of the year. Would it make you feel better if, like, Dallas beats them by 14 to 17 points and maybe the Lions win by 14 to 17 points? And you're like, okay, see, this is what I thought. Lions, Dallas, and 49ers. Those are the NFC teams worthwhile.
Yes, I don't think Detroit's going to blow out LA though. That's so. But if the Cowboys win 24-20, I do think you have to be to the point of survive and advance as a fan. I get you're going to look at things and be worried against the next opponent. What you saw you did positive or negative. That's our job, is to try to present that hopefully on Monday after the Cowboys win, the positives and the negatives, to get ready for the next game. But I feel like at this point, if you win, you win. Like, it's do or die. However you do it, ugly, not a way that you're like, played crappy, but as long as you win, because sometimes you can play great in a playoff game and you fumble a ball at an inopportune time, or there's a pass interference call that we disagree with, or whatever happens. So I hear what you're saying. I would struggle with, but they're not going to win now because of this.
Okay.
Like the next week, if that makes sense.
I hear you.
There's nothing the Cowboys can do to convince me they can beat San Francisco in San Francisco. And I know that we get in trouble for this at times, and I'm not rooting for it. But it's injury that will have the Cowboys advance to the Super Bowl.
Is there anything that San Francisco would say do in that divisional game? Let's say they matched up with, like, Philadelphia. If they struggled mightily, would that change your perspective at all? Or would you still be like, nah, because the Cowboys still have to go to San Francisco?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a complete and total fear by this team. You don't admit it, and you try to fight it. They don't believe they can beat San Francisco. So that game, if it gets to that, hopefully we'll be talking about an NFC Championship game where the Cowboys have to get off to a fast start so the fear goes away.